Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So, I got a fun and exciting video for you guys today because as of 2 days ago, Doom 3 Phobos 100% completely released on Steam. And if you're not familiar with what Phobos is or you haven't heard the name before, it is a full Doom 3 and Resurrection of Evil modification, giving you a brand new game within the Doom 3 universe. But when I say this thing is completely unlike anything you've ever played in Doom and has a story that is so much better than anything id Software's ever done with its own franchise, I 100% mean it. And that's not a knock on Doom 3. Absolutely love the game. What is done here in Phobos is absolutely so special feeling. It really is something you'll never experience before and probably never experience afterwards. And when I say this is both intimately familiar as a Doom 3 game, while also completely pivoting up expectations and doing something almost legendarily magical with the story and formula, I mean it. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined to want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. But Phobos basically lays out the story of Doom 3 in a completely different way with brand new characters because this in effect is a narrative-based first-person shooter. And before you think just because you're seeing a lot of segments in which you're not doing anything, this is not a walking simulator, but some people would be confused at the beginning of the game to think that's what it is. There is just deep storytelling and lore in Phobos that plays around with the concept of memory, how we live our lives and how we die in them, and how we actually think about ourselves and others in our own memory, and how we realize as time goes on that what you remember about a situation or person might be completely different than what somebody else remembers about you or them, because the reality is in our own imaginations we are the main characters of our story, and you kind of walk by hundreds of people a day and never think to yourself they have as rich of a life and they are the main characters of their own story. When you actually step back and think about that, you realize that every single person that's nothing but a nameless face to you has exactly the same situation you do. Maybe not in lifestyle or overall experiences, but they are that unique individual. That is what Phobos is playing with here, the idea of who you are versus what other people think you are, and how you come to learn about that as you go through the game. And that definitely is something that I've seen in gaming before, but in a game that is called Doom 3 that is absolutely insane and over the top, and it is done in such a spectacular manner, you really start to think to yourself, this team should probably just make their own brand new game without the Doom 3 engine and overall aesthetic around it, because even though this is spectacular, I think it is one of the best Doom 3 things you can play. It is always going to live or die based upon the fact that it is wrapped around Doom 3. I think it's spectacular, straight 10 out of 10, but I'd love to see what the team could do in their own complete story from start to finish. But I'm going to do a voiceover sample so you get a little taste of the story because it is quite important, but don't worry because I will be back with a lot more of Phobos.
Took your sweet time, girl.
Hey, I'm not your girl.
You are so my girl.
Whatever, man. So what did you want?
I desperately wanted your company. In fact, I need it.
Now? It's almost midnight. They're gonna ground me for a year if they find out.
Wow, a year? Let's stay out here for an hour, and make it 2. I totally want to see you grounded in room prison. Stripes look good on you.
Stripes don't look good on anybody. But you can be my prison wife.
Yeah, no. I'm gonna be out here free as a bird, living next door to a criminal mastermind, a weirdo.
You're the weirdo.
Look, Samuel got his letter today. Of acceptance, you know?
Now I know what you're thinking, how does that in any way, shape, or form feel like a Doom 3 experience, but trust me, the game is going to play with your expectations and surprise you at basically every corner, because you will see there is traditional combat. This is still a Doom 3 game, and in Phobos, a lot of the combat's actually been sped up and made to feel even more responsive. It's just the fact that this game isn't solely focused around the combat. This isn't Doom 2016, this isn't Doom Eternal, this isn't the most recent medieval style Doom. Those games obviously are incredible on the combat, but pretty light on the story, where Phobos absolutely puts the story first and foremost in your mind and then gives you an amazing version of Doom 3 with all of the fighting and shooting mechanics that you would come to expect from the franchise, and that is just a very interesting mix. In some ways it kind of feels like Wolfenstein, the New Order, and the New Colossus, where you have a very story-driven campaign with a lot of different interpersonal relationships and events that go on both in the story of the game as well as tangentially to the side, along with that great great first-person shooting mix, but I would say Phobos definitely plays up the interpersonal relationships and a little bit of the sadness of life a lot more than Wolfenstein does, because that game can definitely go over the top in both the comedy and a little bit of the gore in all the best ways possible. But I would say Phobos plays the cards very close to its chest as to how it actually gives you that story and what you're going to find out about it, because trust me, again, as you can see here on the screen, this is just a Doom 3 that you have never experienced before. And as a creative, as a filmmaker, this is the type of thing I love. I crave deep story in games. So long as I'm not playing something like an arcade game, I really pivot between the most basic of things like bullet hell shmups where the story doesn't exist whatsoever, or fighting games, to something like Phobos where the story is absolutely paramount to the entire experience, because I love to see how people tell stories. I love to see the stories they tell, and I really like when they kind of tell those stories in a medium or a means that is not what you would expect. This level of narrative storytelling inside Doom 3 is just absolutely the opposite of what anyone would come to think they would be playing, but that is why I'm here talking about it, even though I know at this point in time a lot of people have probably clicked off, because I'm getting a lot more into the artistic end of how storytelling works in games and what can be done versus actually talking about a horror game in October. But the nice thing is, because this is Doom 3 and Resurrection of Evil, you are going to get that same aesthetic. You're going to get that moody lighting engine. It's going to just 100% still feel claustrophobic and sketchy as hell in all the ways you want Doom 3 to feel, except it's going to lighten up, give you some breathing room, and a metric crap ton of story to go along with it. And that really is something that is impressive. And in some ways, Mars City here kind of has a little bit of a Bioshock aesthetic going on as well. As opposed to being in Rapture Under the Sea, you're basically just in an airlocked area on the surface of Mars, but it really does kind of call back to that Bioshock storytelling style. But I would say, and this is not a knock against Bioshock, the story on offer here in Phobos is just that much better formed and really considered and thought about. And like I said, I am still keeping a lot of the story completely away from you, because I want you to go into this game fresh and kind of uncover exactly what's going on at the exact same time that you're playing it. Spoilers for this game would absolutely ruin the experience, so don't go looking for them if you haven't played before. Just go in blind, take my word for it. And these kind of more exploratory areas here, I really do like them because they break up the pacing of the game. Just be aware that for the first 35 minutes or so, you are not going to fight a single enemy, you're not going to hold a single firearm, you're just going to be traversing through the world trying to uncover who it is you actually are. And that really is a fun thing in the game, that sense of self-discovery, not only in the story as you get to discover it, but also as your character finds out who they are. But again, like I said, there is combat in here. It is straight up great, faster than you would get in Doom 3, so don't think, again, that you have to go too long without getting into combat, and the combat here is going to absolutely hit in the same ways that Doom 3 would hit, and sometimes even better in my opinion, and that really is a fun kind of thing. Think about Doom 2016 or Eternal, where you have kind of those arenas where you just have to take place in combat before you can move on. Here, that arena is just basically the firefights, and everything in between are these big long story elements where you get to learn more about your character and the people around them. And I do like the fact that they have Scanner Kitten says hold still. You definitely have a lot of cat theming here. But this is just something that you need to experience, even if you don't think you're going to like it, because the good thing is, so long as you own Doom 3 and Resurrection of Evil on Steam, Phobos is 100% a free download. This is a $0 cost, so if you have those in your library, installed or uninstalled, go ahead and download Phobos and play it, because all you have to lose at this point in time is time itself. And you'll see here as we go into this MRI machine, we're going to come out in a completely different place. You're not sure if that's actually where you are or if you're in your own memories, and it is going to be our second soundtrack and voiceover sample as well, because the story is done quite well. So go ahead and listen. I'll be right back with just a bit more Phobos for you.
Do you remember the night at the hospital? My family had camped out there for days to watch over Mom. You and I didn't see or call each other much. You didn't know what to say, and I didn't want to talk. My parents used to spend their summer evenings in the garden. The soft breeze, the quiet sounds of evening suburbia, a blanket of stars and a glass of wine. This was their time, their safe haven away from stress and concerns. But it was not to last.
Not only is the voice acting very effective at conveying the emotion, but the overall otherworldly area of this hospital and how it kind of has an impossible architecture really does make a difference. Because you open up the CT scanner door, you should have been outside in a window, but now you'll see it's completely loaded up a new environment. Now, I understand that Doom 3 Phobos is not going to be for everyone, and I understand when I make some of these videos that I don't expect them to do well. This is for the people that are interested in this type of storytelling and this type of gameplay, and if you're a massive Doom fan, this might not be for you whatsoever. But the fun part is just give it a shot, because maybe you'll discover something about yourself and about Doom 3 that you never really discovered before. I just absolutely love where this game is going, and trust me, I have played through it from start to finish, so I know where it ends up. It is the best combination of a deep story mod with completely new characters, voiced over lines, and a script and environment, while still maintaining that Doom 3 aesthetic in spots and having even better combat than the base game. And that really is an interesting fan mod when it comes to something like any game whatsoever, basically putting it in a different genre while maintaining the original genre. You have first-person narrative segments, almost like a walking simulator, and then you have that core concrete gun gameplay of Doom 3 that you know, love, and remember from the original. But compared to the story that you got in Doom 3 Resurrection of Evil, I always consider that story to be pretty bad, honestly. I will say it out loud. This is just a straight up 10 out of 10. For me personally, for you, it might be a 2 out of 10. This is going to be a divisive release. People are going to not be sure what to make of it, but if you stick with it, even at the end, if you didn't love it, you're not going to forget that you played it, and you're not going to forget the storyline from it. So Doom 3 Phobos is definitely a game I can't highly recommend enough. I love when people experiment with the art form that is video games and narrative storytelling at the same time. And even though I always feel like games, the best of their stories, still are basically B movies in the film industry, I want to see more stuff like this, because games could definitely have the same level of story that we watch in theaters. They just need to prioritize that and a little bit less gameplay every once in a while. But we're done. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.